Hello, welcome to another video. In this one, we're finally get to see a little bit of the beautiful visualization inside of Blender. We're done with all the CAD importing and organizing the data, and now we're gonna focus on making these materials and making our car finally look good. We're gonna do some very simple car paint, some rubber, just the basics of materials and all that. And actually, towards the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to import this file we create into this beautiful scene. This scene was not developed by me. It was developed by another YouTuber. His name is Katarn66, and I highly suggest you go and check out his YouTube channel. There's a link in the descriptions, and in that YouTube channel you can actually download the file. So I highly recommend you guys go over there, thank him in the comments, mention how beautiful it is. I definitely contacted him and he's super okay with all of this. So it's really, it's incredible that he's letting this out for free. It's an incredible resource. I love it. It's a good example of what Blender could do. And it was actually one of the scenes that inspired me to learn Blender, because I saw that YouTube video and I was like, whoa, like this is basically real time and this is such a good result. Like Blender is obviously worth the learning curve and worth trying out. So first things first, before we get to that cool stuff, we need to color and make our materials, assign them, do all that good stuff. So remember, if you press N, it hides this little side tool thingy. And if you press the show overlay button, it'll hide all of the little gizmos that you don't want to see, because I know those locators can be a bit distracting. So actually, if you'd want to see the rest of the stuff, but just not the locators, you can go up to this menu right here, and then you just click on the empties, and also you can hide away the light and the camera, and so that way all we're seeing is just the car, and we could start just sort of focusing on that. And if you press on this little icon right here, that's the EV engine, and the one to the left of it is the look dev setting. There's multiple ways to look at our materials, but for right now, we're gonna go here under our property panel and we click on this icon and we could get to the materials. So as you see, it already has two materials. So if we press the minus sign, it will delete those, and then we're gonna click on new. And that's gonna automatically make a principal BSDF material. And first we're gonna click on the base color and we're gonna make it blue. And then we're gonna go into metallic, and then we're gonna move that slider up, and so the metallic gives these things more of a metallic feel to it. And then with the roughness, obviously, if we minimize it, it'll be more reflective, and the more we have, it will be the more of a matte finish, And but for our car, we're gonna make it matte, and then we're gonna add a clear coat, which is still in the same material. You just go down here to clear coat, and you turn it on. So this is a very quick way of making a very simple, nice, car material. Obviously, there's a huge science to this, and there's a whole lot more you could do with it. But right now, we're just gonna keep everything really simple. To change the HDRI in our look dev, click on this little arrow, and then click on this little sphere, and we could actually change the HDRI that's in our material right now, just to see what it's going to look like, so that this is what's so powerful about this look dev. You could kind of change them real quick, and these come with Blender. So that's I wanted to make sure to show you guys how to do that. So the next thing we're going to do is make this rubber. So usually Blender automatically, when you import it, it just makes a material. So I always just delete it, and then I click on the new, and then I rename them so I keep everything really organized. Rubber. And rubber is obviously a very easy thing to sort of make. You get your color down to a very dark, like almost black, and then you change the roughness to something that's a little more basically rubbery, or you could actually take it out, and then it looks like you maybe got your tires shined. But obviously this is all more about preferences, but usually I kind of leave my tires sort of like this, and then I take the specular level a little bit down just to keep them a little dark. You don't want your tire rubber to have so much attention. So let's say you want to add this material to your other tires. The first thing you're going to do is select the other tires and make sure that the last tire you select is the one that's colored. And then once you select it, you press Control L, and this menu is going to pop out to link them together. So press Control L, and then you'll see this menu. You click on materials, and whatever you clicked on last, it will make it into the rest, which is kind of a weird way of doing it, but that's how Blender does it. So now let's say I want to make a very similar material, right? So I'm gonna go down to this little icon and I'm gonna select rubber, and then but I want to change it, so I'm gonna click on this new material, and it's actually gonna duplicate that material, and this way it's a lot. I'll just change some of the settings around a little bit to make the letters pop out, but I don't have to redo anything. And it's a good way of making multiple materials are very related to each other, but there's just a little slight difference that makes it seem a little more real. Just to let you guys know, I bought these off Turbo Squid, I think. And so now let's make the blackout, right? Usually you always have some sort of background 3D geometry that you don't want anything but black to go through it. In any car design, I always have blackouts in the wheel wells and behind grills and all that. So let's go into our materials. Let's just delete that one. We'll make a new one. We're gonna call this one blackout. And the blackout is super simple to do. All you do is get your base color, go all the way down to black, and then in your specular, just go all the way down, and there, it's just pitch black. No light is gonna bounce through, and there. Now once you unhide it, you'll see it has a nice. Now everything is sort of blacked out. Now let's do something pretty, like something metallic, like my copper. I have a bunch of little copper elements here in my design. And metals is actually super easy. Obviously, you have a little metal slider there. So again, new material, we're gonna call it copper. And copper is basically, all you do is you go to your base color and you make it into like a warm, almost pink, a little warm, like orange, but a little closer to the red. And then metallic, you just jack it all the way up. And obviously the roughness depends on how you want, if you want a more of anodized sort of look. But me, I kind of like this sort of rough, matte, copper feel. I don't like my metals to be too reflective. But yeah, super easy. Obviously, super simple materials. Right now I'm just trying to teach you guys, the basics. And so now let's make a nice dark plastic. So we're just gonna keep everything really simple. Let's name it black plastic. And all we're gonna do is actually take the color down to a black. And to me that sort of looks like an okay, like rough, like plastic. So let's say that we're trying to add different materials on the same mesh. It's actually quite easy to do this in Blender once you know the process. So the first thing I want to do is I gotta select the polygons, right? So let's hit tab to go into edit mode, and then I'm gonna press L to select the linked up polygons that I want to assign. And then here in my materials, I'm gonna hit that plus sign to add a material slot. And then I'm gonna add my blackout by pressing this little icon and choosing blackout. Now to assign it, just click on that assign button, and now our mesh is gonna have multiple materials, and this way we don't have to separate them or anything like that. And obviously you could do this with a bunch of materials. So I'm gonna speed up the video a bit so you guys can just see how I do the different materials. But honestly, in the end, I'm just I'm keeping it very simple. Right now, after we color this wheel, we'll get to the lights, which have a little more different workflow in the glass. But just I guess I'll just take this like sort of time to tell you guys that this is just a very basic introduction to materials, and that's the whole point of this series, just to kind of get your feet wet. But there's so much to learn, and you could get some such beautiful results if you sort of take the time and look at all the different YouTube videos of different types of materials and different types of material nodes that we're gonna start talking about in a little bit. But yeah, just this is why I know these are definitely extremely basic, and I know that. But I definitely, to me, it's more about getting a good result real quick and teaching you guys that. So now you guys can sort of branch out and learn other things. So now after this, we're gonna do the LED lights. So the first thing I'm gonna do is select them, and then I'm gonna hide unselected so that I could just kind of focus on them. And we're gonna start making our light material. So let's delete this, and we're gonna create a new one. We'll call it LED lights, and or LED white lights. And there under surface, we're gonna click on it, and we're gonna make it into an emission. So now this material is going to start emitting light, and it's going to start glowing and all that once we start adding the camera effects. So for right now, I'm going to change it to 20, And now I have a nice like white LED in my scene, but obviously I have different colors, so I'm gonna create a new light and kind of go through the same thing, and make it into an emission, and just change the colors up. And then I'm also gonna do the same thing I did earlier today of assigning it to multiple things. So I'm gonna press tab to go into edit mode, and then I'm gonna press L to sort of link to select all the different components. That's what L does. It sort of like finds whatever mesh is connected, and it'll select it. So then I click on assign, and then there we go. We have LED lights everywhere, or where we want them with the different colors we want. And obviously you could do this with any sort of color. You can animate the colors if you want. That we'll show that later in a different video. And yeah, this is a very quick and easy way to make some nice LED lighting strips. So now all I gotta do is the same thing, but for a purple LEDs I have in my car design. But I guess I'll take this time right now to also tell you guys that this is not really the preferred way of like using shaders. There's a Blender is a node-based shader system, and even though this is a really easy way to make simple shaders, once we start getting more complex, we have to go into the nodes, which we're gonna start talking about in the next chapter when we make in the next scene where we make the glass. And it is fairly complicated if you've never done that before, but it's extremely powerful, and it's very necessary if you really want to make really beautiful materials. So we're gonna start by making this glass. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to keep going with the same like normal steps right now, just creating a new material. We're going to call it tinted glass. And I kind of already know that it's going to be two materials, and one is just going to be a very black reflective material, and the other one's going to be a transparent material. So let's get the base color down, and let's eliminate the roughness. And now we're going to go into our shading layout. So up top, you see all these tabs. You click on shading, and if you see down here, there we could start seeing the nodes that we just created. So let's remember that if you want to check out different lighting conditions, you can with this look dev mode. So let's click on the arrow and change it up. And this way you can start seeing if your car is making sense in different lighting conditions. At night, as a daytime, does it still look like good paint? Does it still look like copper? This is a great and quick and easy way to sort of do this. So what is this sort of nodes? What are they? It's the same thing, except that, when we go into our material tab here in the properties, we have a very limited, like all we could do is basically what we've been doing, but here we could start adding nodes. So if I press Shift A, I could add different nodes, different sort of textures. So let's go to shader and add a transparent BSDF. And before I forget, go into your preferences, and we have to add the add-on node wrangler. And I'm sorry I didn't record it correctly. I'm gonna move it in 1 second. But if you search for your add-on node wrangler and enable it, it makes it a lot easier to use these nodes when you're doing anything with them, especially shading. So if we connect the transparent BSDF to our material output, as you can see, it changes what's actually being affected, right? And even though it says transparent is nothing happening, it's because we have to go into our settings, and there where it says blend mode, we got to change it. So go to your blend mode and click on that, and then convert it to alpha blend. So now our materials are completely transparent, right? So now we have these two materials, and one's completely transparent and one's a black reflective. So now we want to mix them. So let's go to the Shift A, search, and then type mix, and then find the mix shader. So if I let it go, it automatically connects everything together, and then I connect the principal BSDF to that shader, and there now I have a nice clear glass. I know this is a kind of a weird way of developing this. In other softwares, is a lot easier and quicker to sort of just add a transparency. But at least this way, it actually kind of shows you how to start using these like nodes. And it's actually extremely powerful, and it's worth, I know it's confusing if you've never done it before, but trust me, once you start developing some crazy materials, this is a very intuitive workflow. And actually, we're going to see a much better version of it when I look at that file I told you guys to download. So for this section, for me, I'm basically done. And now I'm gonna save out this file, and then we're gonna import it into the file that we downloaded. But before we do that, I'm gonna open it up, and I want to talk a little bit about that file. So when you open the file, you'll see something like this. And to activate the EV engine, go down to the bottom right corner of this window and click right there, and it's going to activate our EV render engine. And once it compiles, you'll see exactly how powerful this engine is. If you press Shift Spacebar, it maximizes the view. But just take a look at this file. It's ridiculous. Like, the texturing is so nice and clean. Everything's actually quite simple, but everything's done is so right that it's amazing. And then this is straight up real-time rendering of the video, and if you look at the nodes here, you can see exactly how complex and how big these materials can get, and that's why this looks so pretty. But it's very advanced, but it's still the same thing. Just you could easily change all the colors, and once you start playing it again, you see the look of it. It makes everything so powerful, and that's why I always highly recommend Blender. It's like, look at this. And I know I don't want to sound like a salesman. I mean, it's free, but I mean, it's such a beautiful result. So finally, let's get our file in here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hide the race car. I'm gonna go File, Append, and look for the whatever file you've been doing all your CAD data in. And then when you click on it, you'll see the collections folder. And then those are the collections we were talking about, and that was why we did all that work. So now when you click on Append from Library, it's actually gonna place it into the file. So it's actually inside the file, but it went under that race car that I hid. So see, it's right there. I'm gonna move it above it, and then see now Electra is now in this file, and it's already looking good. I'm gonna hit my locator that's all parented up, and I'm gonna rotate it. And there you go. See, that's why now that we did all that work and all the materials, you could import it into a very beautiful scene like this, and you could see how beautiful the results are. And then there we go. Now we learned how to import our model, how to texture it, all that good stuff. And now for our next video, we're gonna do our own little scene. We're gonna do a little road, we're gonna texture it, we're gonna add our own HDRI, and just kind of take you through that simple workflow. And so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned a lot, and I try to cut it down as much as possible, but yeah, I hope you guys liked it. Take care. Bye bye.